Greetings, this is Jamil, the Imagination Guru, here to give you a primer on an upcoming webinar entitled Subjective Gnosis, God Awakens When the Synapses Burns, that will be aired on January the 24th, 2016 at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This title is very, very strong, and it's intended to be because the process that goes on inside of man at that moment of awakening or that moment of enlightenment is very serious. Sometimes these visions or these moments of enlightenment are very brief. They can be up to 15 seconds, under a minute long, but these experiences changes the temperament of the person who's having it forever. They can remain in a state of bliss for the remainder of their time on this planet just from having one of these experiences, in which many cases they see white light or some type of vision that goes beyond the scope of what their regular senses can perceive. And from that point on, the individual knows that they are way beyond what this gross matter called the body can contain. And from there, they realize that they are one with the universal force that is responsible for all things that come into existence. And so with that, we're going to look at what actually goes on in the circuitry of the brain when the serpentine fire rises into the skull of man. We'll look at the limbic brain, specifically the hippocampus and the amygdala, and we'll explain what actually is going on when this electrical current is moving through this very, very holy of holies inside of our skulls. And from there, we'll look at some of the similarities between some of the mystics that have come before us, like Ramakrishna, Paramahamsa, Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint Bernadette. We will look at these individuals and we will see why a lot of despair and fear fell over them in their psychology right before the moment of enlightenment. We'll look at Buddha. We'll look at his experience under the Bodhi tree and see why he was approached by the Mara or the demon with these three daughters that had these virtues that were not pleasant in accordance with his morality, and why he had to go through that experience before the aha moment or the vision that he had in his consciousness of who he was, the I am nature of the individual. So we'll look at these things. We'll also look at some of the mythical characters that exist in some of these holy texts that were personifications of states of consciousness that men and women go through as they're awakening. So we'll look at these as well and see some of the similarities between the mythos and actual human beings who went through the same experiences that the characters in the mythos did. So this is going to be a very, very powerful webinar. We're going to touch on a lot of areas I'm sure you haven't seen before. We're going to have documented sources where we look at these yogis' brains, we look at these mystics' brains. I have the neuroscience available that shows the electrical current through some of the case studies on these holy men and holy women, or spiritual men and spiritual women is really what I like to call them, that go through these experiences. So with that, if you're interested in it, just go to theimaginationguru.com and go to the shops tab, and it'll be available there for purchase if you're interested. I hope to see you all there for this very, very powerful, much needed webinar. Thank you.